Hey, this video is part 3 in our 5-part series of how to be an extraordinary life coach and build a thriving coaching business. This video is really going to focus on the most important element in all of transformation.
We're operating on the concept of changing somebody's life actually is more about below the surface and what's in the soil and what's in the seeds and what's in our programming and all that stuff. There's way too much focus, I believe, on surface level motivation, memes, cute sayings that are all nice, and they satisfy a piece of our intellect that want things to be really easy and just flip of a switch. But that's not how any of our deep issues were created. So it's not how they're going to be solved. So we've gone through 7 of these 14 ingredients. You see them in yellow on the screen here below the surface. I'm just going to give super fast recaps of them so far. If you want to get the deeper dive, or you just want to rehear what you heard the first time, then you can go back and listen to the replays. So the first one is experiences. That's what happened to us in our life. Those cannot change. The second thing is memories. That's how we remembered what happens to us in our life or happened to us in our lives. And not only can memories change, they're constantly changing. The third thing is perceptions. That's our perspectives, our worldview, our different viewpoints. These are the different lenses. I put on a bunch of different glasses during that video. And the main thing to remember is that everybody's perceptions are valid. That doesn't mean you agree with them, but they're valid based on all the information that they have. The fourth thing is attitudes. And that's not just, fix your face kind of attitude, right? Like this is the neurological component. This is how we are nourishing ourselves. This is a state of mind and body, and our attitudes can alter our perceptions, which then changes the way we see everything and feeds into and feeds off of all of these other things that we're talking about. The fifth thing we talked about was thoughts. This is your head talk, all the judgments, all the ideas, the justifications, the opinions, all the projections, all that stuff is your internal dialogue. And this can be changed and it can be controlled, although I don't think a lot of people believe that it can, but only if you challenge it, you know how to challenge it, and you explore what these thoughts are and where they come from and what their intention is. And then we can totally change our head talk. The sixth thing is emotions. I made a language distinction between emotions and feelings. Emotions are the energy sensations that we feel, but the feelings are the way that we try to label those emotions generally. Now, emotions are natural. They exist. They're part of the human experience, but we are programmed to be afraid of them. We're programmed to suppress them. We're programmed to pretend that we don't have them. But that's a programming issue. And then the seventh thing we talked about is decisions. And this is the choices that we make, right? Most of us are choosing and chasing the not, meaning we're trying to not be rejected. We're trying to not be sad. We're trying to not fail. We're trying to not get abandoned. We're trying to not lose. And when we make choices to not experience what we're afraid of, we're actually not ever going to experience what we want. And if we do experience it, we won't even notice it because we're focused on the not. So those are the first 7 decisions, or not decisions, but elements. That's going to build into, feed off of, and feed into these next ingredients. And I don't know if I'm going to get through 3 or 4 in this video. We'll see how long it takes, but we're going to do at least 3 or 4 more. And the first one I want to talk about is beliefs. So you can take that. Yeah, thanks. So beliefs. There's a lot of conversation about beliefs in personal development. When I got into personal development, it was somewhat of a new concept, at least in like the common vernacular, the common conversations that people were having, but they completely changed my life. And so I've been focused on beliefs and really studying beliefs all that time, 18 years or so. What I like is that beliefs are now a much more prominent piece of the normal conversation around personal development. What I don't love is that I think in that more common conversation, beliefs are misunderstood. I think beliefs are not given enough credit and simultaneously given too much credit. Depends on what we're talking about. So I want to break down what I believe beliefs to be based on all of my years of experience. And this is one of the core things that we talk about and teach at a deep level in coaching. Because if you want to change somebody's neurology, if you want to change the way they truly see the world, the way they see themselves, we absolutely have to address beliefs. Any attempt at behavior change without belief change is going to be futile. It's not going to work. If it does work, it's going to be short term. It won't be long lasting. It won't be deep, because our behaviors sit on top of, and they're fueled by, and they're driven by, and they're formed from beliefs. So it truly is like trying to remove a weed above the soil, but not ever uprooting it. It's just going to grow back. You cannot just change what's above without changing what below fed into it and created what's above. So that's what that's the significance and the importance of beliefs. At the same time, beliefs are just thoughts. That's all they are. They're just repeated thoughts. So the working definition of a belief in coaching is a thought with evidence to support it. That's really it. The more that we tell those thoughts, the more they become stories. And the thoughts feed into the stories that we have about ourselves, the world, people, love, sex, money, all the things that we have beliefs about. But at the core, it's just simply a story, and a story is nothing more than a thought. But what makes beliefs so powerful is that these thoughts have a lot of evidence to support them. But I want to be really clear on what we are trying to support. And when I say we, in that context, I'm talking about at a deep unconscious and intellectual level. When we search for support for our beliefs, we are not trying to find support for a good life. We're not trying to find support that's going to allow us to have good relationships. We're not trying to find support that's going to lead to our success. We're not trying to find support that's going to lead to our happiness. We're not trying to find support for anything that we actually want in our lives consciously. The kind of support that we search for and find at a deeper unconscious level is simply to support the truth of the story. This is so incredibly important to understand, because once a story gets started, we're just trying to find evidence that it's true. We're not trying to find evidence that it's false so that we can live a better life. And further, this is maybe more important. Most of those stories started when we were extremely young. Most of our beliefs are actually fully formed before the age of 6. The big beliefs about whether the world is safe, about whether your parents are safe, about what a marriage actually is, about what love is, about your needs, about your desires, about who you are, whether you are lovable and whether you are important. Most of the big foundational beliefs are fully formed by the time we're 6 years old. Because even though we can't language when we're born, we're constantly learning immediately, and we're learning the big stuff. Because we don't have language distinctions. We're not trying to learn mathematics and science and gravity and things like that. We're just trying to learn, is this place safe? Since I was ripped out of the place that was safe, is this place safe? And who are you? And what's your role in my life? And what's my role in yours? These are the big things, you guys. And so the majority of our big, deep foundational beliefs are fully formed by the time that we are 6. So what does that mean for all of us adults? What that means is most adults are still operating on foundational beliefs of toddlers. because most of our foundational beliefs were formed when we were toddlers. And just because we've grown in size and we've grown in capacity to learn and we've grown in experiences, none of those things change our foundational beliefs. Our foundational beliefs will never change until we explore them and intentionally change them. So not only are the majority of our beliefs fully formed by the time they're 6, they're formed from a place of ignorance. They're formed from a pure place of protection, really. We just want to know that we're not going to be abandoned, and we're just trying to figure out how to get fed. And like, we're operating at a deep survival level when we're really, really young. And then we start to learn how to walk and put our clothes on and tie our shoes and all that stuff. So when we're 2, 3, 4 years old, our brains are expanding a lot more in our capacity to understand, and we're able to converse usually. But all of that is just adding on top of the foundational beliefs that were already set. So then by the time we get 5 and 6 and 7 and 10, we're learning all these things, but they're still just being packed on top of the foundational beliefs that are already set. So now we go through our teenage years, we go into our 20s, our 30s. None of that learning changes our beliefs unless we're aware that they're changeable and that we do it intentionally. Hopefully you see the gravity of beliefs. And when I just said gravity, I just meant importance. But when I heard myself say the word gravity, it feels like our beliefs are holding us down, just like gravity does, because that's what they do. They were formed in the soil. So they're connected to this gravitational pull. The intention of our beliefs is not to live restricted lives. The intention of our beliefs is to keep us safe. Remember, our unconscious mind at the intellectual level is constantly just trying to keep us safe. So our foundational beliefs are formed out of protection. They're formed out of the avoidance of danger, the avoidance of risk, and the overall intention to live in the not, N-O-T, not rejected, not failure, not unlovable, not abandoned, not dangerous. So our beliefs at a deep level are formed out of survival, and then they evolve from this source that wants to avoid risk, that wants to keep us safe. That's how the majority of human beliefs are formed. And it doesn't matter if you're 40 years old or 60 years old or 100 years old. If you haven't done belief work, your beliefs haven't changed since they were formed. Because time doesn't change beliefs. Only change work changes beliefs. Only belief work can change beliefs. And what I really want you to understand is that beliefs will determine our results. If you have a result, a circumstance in your life that you're not happy with, here's what I promise you. There's a belief underneath your desire to be happy that is determining that result. And you getting irritated at the fact that you've been trying to do this for a long, long time will not change the belief that's determining the result. Let's put this in the coaching context. Many of you want to be coaches. You're trying to build coaching businesses. You're getting frustrated because the things that you're trying are not working. Your increase of frustration will not change the belief. It will actually just cement it. It will cause you to want to stay safer. It will cause you to want to take less risks because the current risks that you're taking aren't working. So, oh my God. I'm going to drink. There's only water in this one, but I'm going to drink to that one. If the current risks you're taking are not working, why would your protective entity allow you to take more risks? That doesn't make sense to it. Especially if we understand that we're operating from a protection standpoint. If you're in a room and there's a door and you don't know what's on the other side of the door and you convince yourself to open the door because outside that door, there might be sunshine. Well, when you open that door and step out, if there's not sunshine, then the entity that has this gravitational pull on you will say, get your ass back inside because you told me there was going to be sunshine. You told me things were going to happen. And as soon as I let you do it, they didn't happen. So who's right here? This is the conflict that's going on at a deep, deep belief level. I've got goosebumps all over my body right now because this is it's crystallizing at another level for me. And I've been teaching this for so long. This is what we have to understand, that when beliefs are operating, our attempts to overpower the beliefs better work right away. Otherwise, it's just actually going to solidify the truth of the beliefs. And here's the thing, 99% of the time, our attempts at overcoming our beliefs won't work immediately because we're doing it from a place of lack of belief, right? So as a coach, obviously all of this stuff applies to you as a person getting over whatever sabotage and fears you have. I want to repeat, or at least try to repeat the summarizing statement. And I very rarely make universal statements, but if you are frustrated by results you're not getting, there's a belief that's causing that. And until that belief changes, your results cannot. Beliefs are that important. However, they're just stories made up of thoughts with evidence. So while they are massively important, they are actually changeable. If we know what to do, if we know what questions to ask, if we know the overall influence that beliefs have, we can challenge them and we can change them. And the majority of the beliefs that are creating the frustration in our lives are conflicting beliefs. A lot of times they're referred to as limiting beliefs. They're not intended to limit us, but the effect of them is to limit us because their intention is to protect us against the danger and all the threats, right? So I want you to think about beliefs. Like if you go out to a movie theater, you've got a big old screen that you're looking at. What shows up on the screen is only what's on the film. Now, maybe today, they probably have digital DVDs and stuff like that. But think back in the day where there was this movie projector and there was actual film that was on that, in a reel, and you put it in and that's what gets projected. The light behind the film gets projected onto the screen. What's on the film is basically our belief system. And what gets projected on the screen is nothing more than the results of the belief system. So instead of changing what's on the screen, you can change what's on the film. And if you change what's on the film, meaning changing our beliefs, then what's on the screen automatically changes because the screen is only a projection of what's on the film. As a coach, we need to understand all of this stuff and then take a stand with advocacy, but also with information and efficiency and adequacy to be able to help our clients change their beliefs. If you're not able to help your clients change their beliefs, you are not able to help your clients change their lives. I think we might see that on social media in a little bit. If you are not able to help your clients change their beliefs, you are not able to help your clients change their lives. You can use motivation to make short-term shifts, but not full life change. So this is the core of neurotransformational coaching, this concept, how important beliefs are, but how changeable they are. If you know what to do, they essentially are sort of like closet monsters, right? Like they do a lot of work, but so much of that work is actually hollow. And not that it's not real, but it's hollow in the sense that this is just a thought that was formed when I was 2 years old. And then I've been collecting evidence all along, but the thought is actually not real, but all the evidence feels real. So when we challenge it, it can actually change relatively quick. The result of the change, how to change our life isn't going to be immediate, but the result, but the changing of the beliefs can actually happen very, very quick, even extremely deep ones that are attached to traumas and attached to who we are at what feels like at a core level. They can change, but you have to understand how to do the belief work. I've been saying for so long, because of my experience. The reason that my life changed is because I had an experience on a piano bench in a crowded hotel lobby of belief change. That's what shifted everything in my life. I won't tell the details of that story right now just because of time. But because of that, I was like, oh my God, we got to talk about beliefs, because that's what changed my life. So I've been studying this for my entire career in personal development. So there's a lot more here to go. I'm going to stop just for now because of time. The ninth ingredient in the order that we're presenting them, and these are not in sequential order, but in the order of presentation, the ninth thing is values. Simply put, values are who or what is important to us. What do we value? Values will determine pretty much all of our choices. I'm going to take pretty much out of it. Every single choice we make is a values choice. Every single choice. It's just that most of us don't recognize that we're assessing what's more valuable to me, this or that. What's more valuable, this or that, right? We're looking left and right, but we're also looking short-term, long-term. Although we very rarely fully value or create the bridge in our mind to long-term. So most of our values decisions are being made short-term, and they're just being made in this either or perspective, because that's the level of elementary operations that our values are playing at a deep, deep level. A lot of this deep work is extremely elementary at its level, which is great news, because we can make a lot of changes because they just operate at a very elementary level. So values is what is important to us, which is why the only way to be happy in your life and to feel joy and to feel fulfillment is by fulfilling your values. If you're doing things in your life that are not important to you, then they won't be meaningful to you and they won't be fulfilling to you, which means you'll feel hollow. We see this all the time when people make a ton of money, but they're not happy because that money is not important to them. Maybe they're not doing important things with the money, or maybe the status that they thought was going to give them a feeling of meaning doesn't give them the feeling of meaning. And so then they feel hollow. But again, great news, when we understand values and we can make them conscious and we can go, this is what's really important to me. And by making that decision, I'm sacrificing something that's more important to me than what will be fulfilled by this decision. Now we can make deeper decisions based on our values intentionally and consciously. So the main thing I want you to get is that achieving your goals does not lead to joy and fulfillment. Achieving your goals can create joy and fulfillment, but not by just the achievement of your goals. That will only happen if your goals are aligned with your deepest values. And most of the time they're not. Why? Because our goals are usually given to us when we're young by other people. They're given to us by our parents, by our society, by our religion, by our schools, by our coaches, by our teachers. They're usually given to us by other people. So the chances that goals given to us by other people are also goals that mean the most to us, that's just a chance. The likelihood of that is actually quite low. That's why so many people struggle with the achievement of their goals. One of the reasons is because the goals aren't actually meaningful. It's not something that they value. So as a coach, understanding how to do values work, understanding how to explore to see if somebody's desires, goals, targets are actually aligned with and come from values is really critical. And then if we can shift, do whatever values work needs to be done, create whatever, or dissolve rather, whatever conflicts might be down there at a deeper level, now you'll be able to release people. And it's literally like the racehorse that is ready to run, but the gate isn't opened. When we do some of this deep work, the gates will open. And the racehorse didn't ever have any problems. It was just there was a gate stopping them from running. I would imagine many of you feel like this. I felt like this many times in my life where I'm ready to go. I think I can do this stuff, but something is stopping me. Values conflicts are one of the main things that stop people at a deeper level. So as a coach, you'll be able to totally release people and liberate them. The final one I want to talk about in this video is a concept called drivers. Now, drivers, these are not anything different on their own compared to a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, because all of the things we've been talking about are drivers. This is an idea, this is an ingredient that something is always driving our behavior. So sometimes as a coach, we're going to go, you made that choice. What is driving that choice? And what's driving that choice might be one of the 9 things that we've already talked about. Not always, usually, but not always. But then we're going to look at the combination of all these things and the intensity of these things, right? What drives our behaviors as a 10-year-old might not be the same as what drives us as a 20-year-old, or it might be the same, but the intensity might change. So we're constantly looking at what are the drivers beneath the behavior. And these are always going to be connected to something deep. It's going to be connected to our needs or desires. And every single action we take can be dissected into its drivers. Every single action is driven by something. It's informed by something. It's fueled by something. It's driven by something. What that means is every single action, every single choice has these things underneath them that are driving us. And what that means is if we're not conscious of them, then they're driving us unconsciously, which means they are actually controlling us. So many of us get frustrated because we feel like we don't have control of our life. The reason we don't have control of our life is because we don't have control of the drivers that are controlling our life. I'll try to say that again. The reason we don't have control of our life is because we don't have control of the drivers that are controlling our lives and controlling all the choices that we make. So these can be brought into our conscious awareness. Drivers themselves are not something that we necessarily change. This is more of an understanding that we've got all these things that are influencing and informing and fueling our choices. And sometimes we look at the ingredients and we need to change a belief. We might need to shift a conflict. We might need to change a memory. Sometimes we just expose what's going on below the surface and go, okay, what's more important to you here, this one or that one? And we don't have to change anything. We just need to bring awareness to it. And we go as a human, okay, that's way more important. So this one is now going to fuel and inform and drive my decisions. So what we do with the drivers from a coaching perspective depends on what we figure out, what we find out, what we uncover when we look into the drivers. But as a coach, we constantly have to be aware of what's underneath driving this. Because if we just change what's above, but not what's driving what's above, then what's above will never really change. We might just momentarily create some avoidance or try to suppress stuff or, paint the apples orange, but the drivers are always going to win. All right, this will probably really surprise you, but if you like this video, go check out that video right there, which is part 4 of this 5-part series. But then we got to know, what do you want? We need to know what we won't tolerate anymore, but we also know, what are you searching for? Because a lot of people in relationships or financial opportunities, we actually have the things that we want all around us, but because